Hello and welcome to today's program. I am Ogechuku Okekwe. We're here to bring you updates, expert insights. Join us as we explore today's top health topics. Vice President Kashim Shettima has announced that the federal government health sector reform have already attracted over $4.8 billion in a potential investment. Shettima noted that the investments are part of the commitment of the administration of President Bola Tinubu to renew Nigeria's healthcare system. According to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communication, Stanley Nwokocha, the Vice President disclosed this at the commissioning and grand opening of Sahad Hospital in Abuja. He said that Shettima outlined a comprehensive strategy to address long-standing challenges and propel Nigeria's healthcare system into the future. Nigeria is set to establish the Maternal Mortality Action Mama Funds as part of an ongoing negotiation for a $500 million loan from the World Bank. This is according to a stakeholder engagement plan for the Nigeria Primary Healthcare Provision Strengthening Program. The initiative comes as a part of the broader $65 million investment project financing component of the Hope Healthcare Program, which seeks to improve access to quality healthcare services across Nigeria. The establishment of the Mama Funds is a crucial step in Nigeria's effort to reduce mortality and infant mortality rates and achieve its human capital development goal. We'll take a break now and the program will return shortly. Welcome back. President Bola Tinubu has approved the national policy on health workforce migration to address the continuous exit of Nigerian doctors abroad. The policy announced by the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Mohammed Pate, on his X handle aims to woo an estimated 12,400 Nigerian trained doctors practicing abroad. According to Pate, 67% of Nigerian trained doctors are practicing in the United Kingdom alone. Pate said the policy signed by the president was more than just a response to the ongoing exodus of healthcare professionals, but a comprehensive strategy to manage, harness, and revive healthcare workers' migration. While health workers believed the policy might be positive, they demanded the details and implementation plan. Well, joining me on the program to discuss further is neurophysiotherapy clinical gait analysis, Sam Ibename. Well, the federal government recently unveiled a new initiative tagged National Policy on Health Workforce Migration aimed at checking workforce migration in the health sector. Part of the initiative is improved welfare and condition of several services for medical professionals with better incentive for those in the rural area. What do you make of this initiative?
Well, I wish to commend the federal government for this initiative. It's a very good one. It's a positive step in the right direction, which is required to strengthen the health sector and the healthcare delivery system in the country, which we have a very high impact on the health of the nation, so to speak. However, when you are making an initiative like this that will have a very significant impact in reversing the brain drain syndrome and the loss of the workforce in the health sector, you have to also revisit the main reasons why you have a depletion in the workforce in the country, particularly also in the rural area. You look at the fact that the three key reasons why most of the workforce we have in the health sector, those that left, and those that are not motivated to be in the public service, they had this challenge about the poor conditions of service, very low remuneration and salaries, and practically very difficult opportunities, very slim opportunities for career development in terms of, training and professional development in that regards and sponsorship. And of course, we also have the issues of security. And if these conditions are not addressed, it becomes very difficult to see that this initiative will succeed. Because until these conditions are addressed, you are likely going to have a movement, a motion without movement. You know, as far as this initiative is concerned, it becomes more or less hollow in the long run, because you need to address the reasons why we have this unpleasant situation in the first instance before you can actually be confident that it is going to work out properly. For instance, I do know that some time ago, one of the brilliant doctors we had at one of the teaching hospitals in the Southeast, while coming to work within the hospital premises, was kidnapped because of poor security. At the end of the day, when he was released, he packed his bags and he left the country with his family. And how do you now begin to motivate such a person to come back when he was kidnapped right within the hospital, where he was trying to help save lives of patients? This is a predicament that befell not just doctors, but healthcare workers generally. And this lack of security, even within the hospital, becomes a very major concern for the workforce. And when you don't have the facilities to work with, how do you really come back to work with what? So most of the hospitals do not have the current equipment. They do not have the desired equipment, even the barest minimum you need to work and help the patients. So these are the issues that the government should also address, because unless you do this, that initiative will not succeed. Some time ago, a theater nurse was also kidnapped in the teaching hospital on her way to work in the morning. It took the intervention of government and security agencies to get her released after 2 days. And so when you see this kind of thing happen time and time again, some are killed, some are maimed, just because they came to work in a government facility. So until the government takes a serious look at these issues and address them, it becomes difficult. And when you talk about the rural areas, you see that the issue of security even becomes more relevant in those areas, in those rural communities, because you always have the issues of clash between herders and the farmers, and this happens almost in the rural communities. And so when you are posting medical personnel to go there, so long as even as much as you may want to incentivize it, they may not really want to go, because if the farmers who reside in those communities are not even secure enough, are so worried that they don't go to farmlands to go and farm, how much more a medical doctor, a medical practitioner, a physiotherapist, a nurse, coming to in those rural communities to work? Because in the long run, nobody can tell, nobody can say what may happen. So I think that it is a very welcome development that government have realized that there is a need to reverse the trend of brain drain and loss of very significant and very impactful workforce we have to other clients. And so they are taking the initiative to reverse it. This is a very positive, welcome development. However, there is a need to understand and engage with the people in diaspora who have left. Why did they leave? Until we do this, then it's not going to be a very successful initiative. And there's also a need for the government to engage with international organizations, with diaspora organizations, and such kind of group of people who are very influential in liaising with the health workers who may have left, to see how their concerns can be addressed and be factored in so that whatever initiative that they are bringing up, we consider, we put into place something that we address those concerns they have. Because oftentimes we imagine, we think out of the box in our own ingenuity, what we think is the best for the health sector or for the health workers without really involving them. And so I think there is a need that if government really wants to reverse the trend, there is a need to engage with those who have really left, find out why they leave, what their concerns are, and then tailor this initiative to address those concerns.
Part of the initiative also requires that every Nigerian doctors a foreign country employs, that foreign contributes to the training of a doctor back home in Nigeria, which is called the 1-1 match. What do you make of this?
Well, I don't know. Sometimes we think we have great ideas, but when it comes to implementation, it may fall short. In the first instance, you may need to understand that this is in the health sector, we have a crisis situation. And in crisis situation, you may not begin to look at policies like this 1-1 match and things like that. You may not really come up with this kind of policy that will require a lot of back and forth between the country and the country where these Nigerian doctors and health professionals migrate to. The time we waste trying to bicker and fashion out what we want and so on and so forth, it becomes a little bit unnecessary and lives will be lost. I think it's important that we address the issues at home than rather trying to, look at this 1-1 match. It's a good idea, but how will it work? Because, I mean, the doctors who live on their own. Some of them actually train themselves. Some invest heavily to develop themselves before eventually leaving the country. And then, you are getting somebody who employs them, so for instance, in the Middle East to come and, to pay some money that will help train some other people behind. Otherwise, are you going to hold the person ransom in Nigeria and say, because until that happens, you will not migrate? I mean, there are some policies that you need to really look at again and be sure that these things could work.
So do you think this initiative by the government would help reduce the issue of brain drain in the country?
Well, I do not think, like I've said before, I do not see how that is going to reduce the brain drain in the country. These are fantastic policies on paper, but everything comes to the details. The devil is always in the details. The policy is a good one. It's a recognition that there is a problem, and the government is trying to respond to that problem. As far as that is concerned, that's a very good one. But like I have said before, these policies should be built on facts. They should be built on the reality. They should be built on the needs and the concerns of the healthcare community in Nigeria. What are the problems that led to their emigration in the first instance? Have those problems been addressed? Because these are all adults. These are people who are capable of making decisions about their career. And if the government have not addressed those problems, then what the government is doing in this initiative will not work. Their concerns have to border on the poor working conditions. Have there been an improvement? Low salaries, and so on and so forth. Has there been a change? Research facilities are not available and productivity is dwindling. There is lack of equipment that is required in the hospitals. Is there an improvement in those areas? Security-wise, have the conditions of the hospital improved in terms of security? These are some of the policies that government need to address. For instance, before now, the hospital management was allowed to employ security personnel in each hospital. We used to have the security department under the chief medical director or the director of administration, as the case may be. Some time ago, the government came up with a policy of outsourcing the security department in most of the teaching hospitals and federal establishments. That is the truth. And since that time, the security department no longer reports to the chief medical director. He has no control. They report to their own managing director, who can interface with the administration of the hospital. And so nobody is held accountable when things go wrong in the security system.
The policy also emphasizes on digital health infrastructure, including electronic medical records, telehealth, and a comprehensive health workforce registry, representing a major milestone towards a more efficient and data-driven healthcare system. What's your take on this?
It's a very important and a very remarkable initiative of the federal government. This policy is a very welcome policy. The world is fully digitalized, and the healthcare delivery system, as we have experienced during the COVID-19 era, transcends beyond the paper and pen, approach. There is a need for real-time online communication and electronic transmission of data. The patient data needs to be accessed by the doctors, by the healthcare providers on real time. And that will save life, and that will also enhance productivity. Right now, it's not the case in Nigeria. Everything is virtually manual. The records are manually provided and manually documented and so on and so forth. And that is not very efficient. But then again, the elephant in the room is, do we have the infrastructure that will support this? Because that is also what the government will have to think about and address. For instance, if you do not have power supply, 24 hours power supply in the hospitals, how do they transmit data electronically? So it becomes a challenge. How would you also implement telemedicine or telehealth if there is no electricity that powers the infrastructure that is required to support these kind of services? So this is where and why I always say that government should also focus on the fundamentals and build the system up from there. But I believe that where there is a will, there is a way. For instance, the public power supply system can also be augmented using the solar system, especially now that the world is embracing green energy. And it will be a win-win situation for everybody. So I think that the government can actually do this, but we need to see in this policy also the determination of government to also rely on alternative power supply in these facilities, so that this robust idea and the platform that is required to support these services are backed up and they do not have to fall or falter. So I think that it is something that is quite encouraging that government is going in that direction. The world left us behind almost like 30, 40 years ago, and it's a happy thing we're coming to the party right now. So I think the government is doing the right thing at this time. But I also want to see that the government should address the issue of providing the necessary infrastructure. The telecommunication infrastructure is there, but how robust is it? And also in the rural communities where this kind of thing can benefit the masses more. So I think it's also a welcome development. But alongside this policy, the government should also look at providing the necessary and enabling background to make it work.
In your opinion, what long strategies should be implemented to retain medical professionals and prevent future brain drain?
I am right now in a university in Germany talking to you. I came here for research. The facilities I need to conduct this research are not in Nigeria. I have to collaborate with my colleagues in Germany in order to come over. I don't even have power supply enough. I don't even have access to the ICT infrastructures and platforms. I don't have subscription from my university for different scientific databases that will provide me access to current knowledge in my field to enable me do a very competitive study and a very impactful study. And so I have to come all the way from Nigeria to Germany to do that. This is an example of the kind of things that Nigerians suffer all the time. It is unbelievable that we go through these pains and we do this with our own personal resources and no support from the government whatsoever. I appreciate a lot of initiative of government, but it may not go around to everybody and all the time that you need it. So in the long term, government should be addressing things like this. They should be addressing the needs of the healthcare providers because one of those needs include research and development. And, there should be a blueprint established by government on how to harness the potentials the country has and how to sustain them. The remuneration of workers should not always be when they go on strike. I think in most advanced economy, the remuneration is tied to inflation. Sometimes, as inflationary trend increases, it also increases. They may have a policy that says when the inflationary trend increases by 0.5% or by 1.5%, as the case may be, there should be this percentage increment automatically of workers' salary. That way, workers are able to, do things that they need to do with their own personal resources. And it is only when you don't have policies like this and when you have insensitivity, where the workers know that the councillor in their village who have barely elementary school certificate is more than a professor, and so what is the incentive? What is the motive that a professor in hematology, a professor in physiotherapy, a professor in the healthcare delivery system want to stay back, knowing that the local councillor who have not invested that much is more than him. I even did not to mention the local government chairman. So the government's policy should be to motivate and to give the, develop, invest in the infrastructure in the healthcare delivery system, invest in it, cut corruption, as much as possible, provide the enabling development, enabling environment for, research, for productivity, for advancement. When the workers begin to see that these things are going on in the right direction, they will be motivated and they will have hope that the country will turn around for good. And I think what the government needs to do is to invest in the healthcare industry, build up facilities, invest in policies that will also enable the efficiency in the system. And that is some of the things that are lacking right now. Like the digitalization of health in Nigeria is long overdue. It's a very good policy. When we come with this kind of policy and the right people being in the right place all the time, I think Nigeria will get it right. And Nigeria can actually tap from the diaspora, bring in people who are resourceful, who have done it in different countries of the world, who are established, who are known for their achievements in these areas, bring them back to work with them to turn around the health sector. And people will have confidence that the right things are being done and the right people are there. The Honorable Minister of Health, Professor Pate, is very well known and has made a mark. These are the kind of people who should head government. And so I'm not really surprised that some of these policies are coming under this administration and, under his leadership too. So I believe that when such kind of policies are supported by the central government and backed up with necessary funding, and these things are implemented as planned and without corruption, interfering at some point, if we have a blueprint, long-term, short-term, and, a medium-term plan and implement them accordingly, I think we will get there. So I think this would be my advice in that regards. Let's take a look at countries who have succeeded. Go to countries like Singapore, who have succeeded in turning around their health sector and see what they did and how they did it. I think these are some of the things that we need to also address. Even in India, who used to, come to Nigeria in those days or go overseas for their treatment and seek it. Now India is a destination because they were able to bring back their diaspora doctors and all that they have developed, who have gained experience all over the world, they brought them back home. And they turned India around and they created the environment for them to invest, and also government made investments and was serious about it. Now the healthcare system in India is so robust. People go there to now access health, even from America. People go to India. So this should be our concern, and this should be what we think we can achieve if we continue to work towards it.
Well, neurophysiotherapy clinical gait analysis, Sam Imbeneme. Thank you for lending your thoughts on the program. And that wraps up our program for today. Thank you for tuning in, staying informed with us. I am Ogechukwu Okekwe. Bye for now.